What's up guys, it's Will back again, and today's review is The Pianist. This film was first requested to me by Nolan Wright on my Anthropoid review that I released back on the 18th of August. Okay, so The Pianist is a 2002 historical drama film that was directed by Roman Polanksi and is based on the memoirs of the Polish-Jewish pianist and composer Władysław Szpilman. The film takes place during the late 1930s to early 1940s during World War II and primarily follows Adrien Brody's character of Władysław Szpilman, who I just mentioned, a Polish-Jewish pianist that finds himself fighting to survive during the Nazi invasion of Poland during World War II. The story kicks off by giving us a glimpse of Władysław's insanely good piano skills as well as the turmoil that's about to turn his life upside down as the radio station he's playing at is bombed during the invasion of Warsaw by Nazi Germany in 1939. Well, after the bombing, the Nazis began establishing their presence in Warsaw and the quality of life quickly deteriorates for all Jews in the area because the Nazis obviously hated the Jews and they wanted them to suffer as much as possible. And the rest of the film is spent watching Nazi Germany cruelly bully the Jews into submission as they make their life a living hell or just brutally murder them, as the story also accounts the incredible tale of Władysław Szpilman's resilience. Okay, so I gotta give credit to Nolan Wright on this one for doing what you guys do so well, expanding my horizons. Although The Pianist was nominated for Best Picture in 2002, I was only 11 years old at the time and up until yesterday I had never even seen it. Well, let me tell you guys, do not make the same mistake I did. This is an all-time great film that I think needs to be seen by pretty much everyone that is of age to witness the brutal imagery. To me, this is a survival story that attempts to recap and dramatize the experiences of a group of people attempting to survive an indecent time, but it's also a story about the resilience of the human spirit. While you get to see the brutality of the Nazi party and how it destroyed the lives of so many Jews in Warsaw, you primarily follow Władysław and his family for the first half or so of the movie because basically every film needs characters that you ultimately form some kind of connection with. In order for a story to be successful, it needs to affect you emotionally in some way, and by following Władysław and his family, you have characters that you're rooting for and feel connected to. And I thought all the characters were really well written and acted because each one of them brings something a little bit different to the overall group dynamic. This is a family after all, and that's typically what makes families so interesting in the first place, the diversity of perspective and sometimes the clashing of those perspectives. While each of these family members is well acted, there's really only two of them that you spend enough screen time with to become super invested in, and that's obviously Władysław played by Adrien Brody and Henrik played by Ed Stoppard. Adrien Brody was absolutely phenomenal in the role of Władysław Szpilman, and I can understand why he won the Oscar for Best Male Lead because his performance was incredibly compelling from start to finish. I really don't think there were many actors out there in 2002 and even today that could have pulled off this role as well as Adrien Brody did. The fact that he is of Polish Jewish descent in real life only further allows you to immerse yourself into this story and feel like you're watching something that's 100% real. And I also gotta give him credit for actually playing some of the pieces on piano and not using a hand double to play some very complex pieces of music. Now, he didn't play all of them. Some of the really complicated stuff was played by Jalusz Olejnik, but regardless, Adrien Brody did play a decent amount of piano in this film, and let me tell you, as a piano player myself, none of those songs are easily played. Ed Stoppard as Henrik also did a really nice job as well. He's sort of the sarcastic member of the family that actually contributes a lot because he and Władysław butt heads quite a bit, as brothers always seem to no matter what the time period is. And the third actor that really makes a key impact on the story is Thomas Kretschmann, who plays the German captain by the name of Wilhelm Hosenfeld. Hosenfeld comes into contact with Władysław in the third act of the film, and he actually becomes a very crucial character to the plot. He's so interesting because he's a Nazi soldier, and he's torn as to whether or not he identifies with the Nazi party's stance toward Jews. Thomas Kretschmann delivered a great performance in limited screen time. Okay, so the next thing I want to discuss are the visuals. I don't think you ever get nominated for Best Picture or more importantly Best Cinematography without actually having some next level visuals. The Pianist cinematography is truly remarkable and it was way ahead of its time for 2002. The way that the brutality of the Germans toward the Jews is shot is truly astounding, and it does its job of leaving you horrified at the destruction and despair the Germans leaving their path. You see things like dead bodies lying in the streets and people just walking past them, Germans lining up Jews and shooting them, and other similar things that make you wonder how anyone could be so cruel to another group of people. A lot of this story is told through the not so subtle visuals that are meant to give you an idea as to the conditions our characters are enduring, as well as the foe they're up against. The cinematography is masterfully done, and it's easily one of the best parts of this film. I also thought the music was outstanding. The pieces that were played on the piano by Władysław were amazingly done, and the other music present was used minimally, and that worked perfectly. There are several scenes where you think music would be present, and the filmmakers decided to go with just the standalone action on screen, and that was honestly really cool. They're obviously very different movies, but at times it sort of felt like how No Country for Old Men took the no music approach. It surprises you, but it works because it allows you to focus on what you see, not what you hear. But I just want to clarify to you guys that the imagery in this movie is extremely brutal and it pulls no punches whatsoever. I personally loved it for this, but if you haven't seen it and you're considering watching it, just be aware that there's a lot of cruelty and violence that is tough to watch. So the last pro I have for this film is the climax and ending. I thought the climax of the film was very exciting and gritty, and it really brings the survival aspect to the forefront, which I personally loved. What you see in the climax is the culmination of Waldak's struggles and how they've taken a huge toll on him as a person. It shows you that one person can only endure so much without being fundamentally altered in some way. The development of Waldak as a character is incredibly done because he is in a far different place in the end of the film than he was at the beginning, and the climax brings the shift in perspective up to max capacity. I also really enjoyed the ending, but it's not going to be for everyone because it doesn't end all that happily. I liked it because it has a strong element of realism to it. It seems like the filmmakers felt it was best to be true to the accuracy of the memoirs over what actually wraps up a story nicely, which I love. They obviously felt they had an obligation to do the source material justice and portray it somewhat accurately. The only knock I have on this film, and it's ever so slight, is what I consider to be a bit of a redundant stretch of time between the middle of Act 2 to early Act 3. During this time, it just felt like I was seeing things I'd seen a bunch of before that I didn't really feel added much to the story itself. I don't mind a film having a 2-hour and 30-minute runtime like this one does, but if you're going to make the audience sit there for that long, every minute has to count. But overall, I love The Pianist, and I think it's an all-time great film. I thought it had some amazing acting performances, great music, awesome cinematography, and a very strong climax and ending. The only knock I have on the film is its redundant stretch of time between Acts 2 and 3. I'm still going to give The Pianist a 10 out of 10 and recommend you watch this one wherever you can, as long as you can handle the brutal imagery and can sit still for 2.5 hours. So did you guys see The Pianist yet? What did you think of it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if not, let me know whether you'd be interested in watching this film or not. And as always, if you like this video, click that like button and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for much more content like this. Thanks again to Nolan Wright for the request, whose channel link you can find in the description below. Keep them coming, everyone. That's all for now though. This is WillFoxification signing off. See you in the next review.